Hello everybody, and welcome to the Level Builder tutorial series. Today we're going to be looking at how exactly we're getting the files to be loaded and saved, and we're also going to be looking a lot at input. Alright, so I loaded this up. I press 1, it's already on this one. I press 2, I press 3, and we have the 3 pre-made levels like I talked about before. And now I press 4, and it loads this up. Alright? Now I can add a few blocks here, and I can go to 3, and I can go back to 4, and it's still like that. But if I exit out and play again, it will go away when I go to 4. Okay? That's because I didn't press S. You have to press S in order for your level to actually save. Alright? So now I press S, I go to 3, I go to 4, that's still there. And I reload it up, and it should still be there if everything went right. Okay, go to 4. Alright, so yeah, it works. So, how exactly is that gonna work? Well, basically, what it's doing is I'm using a save grid sort of script, okay? So let's start by looking through this. Okay, so first of all, this script is checking to see if the selected grid number is less than 3. If it is, then it means it's one of those pre-made levels that's one of these included files. We don't want to save that. We don't want to change anything with those files, okay? So then we just do return. So we just exit out of this script. Okay? And then otherwise, what we do is we open a file with the name of the level and then .txt. And then remember, if it tries to open a file and the file doesn't exist, then it creates the file. So then what it does is it writes the it writes 2f, so it writes in the file dsgrid write and then the selected grid. So what dsgrid writes does is it encodes the grid. So I'm just writing a comment so we know what this does. Alright? So this encodes the grid, because if you remember from last episode, I was talking about how we can encode and decode. So that's just how it gets encoded. And then what we need to do is we need to close the file, alright? So that's kind of easy stuff, alright? So it needs to be called from somewhere. So let's open controller game back up again, and then open key press S. Okay? So if the player presses S, then it's just going to call script save, or script save grid. Alright? Okay. So now we have some more input to look through. So when you press 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and so on the keyboard, what it does is it's changing the actual grid you're looking at. And that's actually some pretty simple code. All we need to do is change the selected grid number variable. Okay, so if you press 1, it goes to 0. You press 2, it goes to 1, and so on. But once you get up to pressing 4, then it needs to check if the global created levels is greater than 3. Because remember, you have 3 levels pre-made, and then any level you add on top of that will be a new level, and then it'll increase the created levels number. And if that value is increased, then the selected grid number can be accessed, or a higher number. But so let's say you press the number 7, but you only have a few levels created. Then it's going to check to see if the created levels is greater than 6, and then that'll return false, so then it won't run through this code. Alright? So yeah, just quickly go ahead and insert all of these numbers that you need, and then we can continue. So here we have pressing T. So I set it up so T creates a new level. So let's try it out real quick. We have level 1, 2, 3, which are the pre-made ones, and then we have 4. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I press 5, nothing happens. But now if I press T, this is 5. Okay, I'll quickly try to make the number 5. Okay. So I press 4, then I press 5. And then I'll press S to save it. And if I exit out and I press play, then it should work again. I should be able to go up to level 5. Okay, now I press 5. Okay. So that works. But what's going on here is that I'm creating a new grid, and then we're going to need to save the actual script in a variable for some uses later. But basically right now all we need to know is that we're calling the script new grid, and then we need to input the level name, and we need to input the author. So for now we're just pre-naming this test level, and then we're just setting the author to Evan, alright? But eventually what we'll do is we'll make it so if you create a new level, then you actually have to type on your keyboard the name of the level, and then your author will figure that out. But I'm wanting to integrate this with GameJolt, so then we can use GameJolt's system and we can figure out what their username is through that, or maybe something along those lines. So the name of the level is test level, and then the author is Evan. So let's actually look into that script. So if global.createdLevels equals 10, then it'll just return fail, because you can only have 10 levels max, alright? Or actually, let me think. Maybe this number should be 9. Wait, no. No, it needs to be 10. Yeah, okay. So, check if the name already exists. So that's just a note for me to do in the future. And then here we are creating a new grid. We're increasing the number of created levels. We are changing the selected grid number. So we're going to the new level, and then the new level will always be the biggest numbered level because it's adding it to the end. So then we just need to do the number of created levels minus 1, because it starts at 0, remember? Because like we have to do lots of mismatching sort of, because the created levels is always going to be like one number higher than the selected grid number and stuff like that. So we're just inputting argument 0, which is the name of the level. It's a string. And then same thing here, we're just putting in the author. And then here we're just saving it as the grid. And we want the grid to be empty because it's a new level. We don't want any blocks to automatically be there. And then we need to open the data main.ini, and then we need to write the real. So we need to write the number, how many created levels there are, because that number changed. So this is going to overwrite that number, alright? And then we need to write some new strings. So, okay. So we're just writing the level name and the level author, and we just need to get the actual ID, and then we need to get the actual value, alright? And then we just close the this data main file. And then we need to run script save grid. We need to save the grid because we're creating a new grid, alright? And then, so if you created a new grid and it didn't save, and then you just exit it out, you'd actually start to get some errors, because this number would be 1 higher. Or the created levels would be higher than we actually have levels saved. So we need to have some sort of file saved for our system to work. And if the player doesn't save it, then it won't just work. Alright? So, let me see here. I think we've gone through just about everything we need to go through. Oh yeah, there's a few other things. So, anywhere that you have the code script load grid to level, you can delete that, and then you can just create an end step event, because we want to refresh this. Because how we had it before is every time the player like clicked a button or whatever, it would update rather this script, or it would call the script. But now what's going on is we have so many different changes and we have so many inputs that we want to be checking every single frame of the game to see if the script needs to be updated. So just script load grid to level, and then global.selected grid. So whatever grid we have selected is the grid that is going to load. Alright? And then inside the step event, global.selected grid equals global.level array global.selected grid number 2. So we just need to access the right grid, because remember, we're changing this value when we're pressing different buttons. So we need to be updating that. And then I think, yeah, I think we deleted a line of code there. And other than that, that should really be all the code that's changed. So now I'll actually show you how to access these files that we created. So all you need to do is type %local app data %. Okay? And then go into the file and go into the local file, okay? So yeah, now we're looking inside actually some really complex sort of computery stuff. And you can see all sorts of files here, right? So what's going on is GameMaker is saving these files somewhere. And these are sort of secret files deep inside the computer, which you have to type %local app data % to find. You can't just like really find it that easily. So you have all sorts of games and applications, and all of their saved data is inside of here. So what we need to do is find ours. So I named this game Level Builder Tutorial. So I just need to find that name because it just automatically sets it up so whatever your name is. Okay. So yeah, look here. So we have the data main file, and then we have the test level. So let's open this up. So it says created levels equals 5. And it says level name equals test level for 3 and 4. And then 3 and 4 is Evan and Evan. And actually we have an error because we're naming the file the same thing twice. So actually what I should do here is change this because, yeah, so I actually ran that script new grid twice, which actually kind of screwed things up. Because, so in the future we're going to be checking, we're going to need to check to make sure that there's no levels with the same name as levels you already have, because that will actually create errors. Okay, so now let's open the test level. And as you can see here, this is the encoded grid. It's just a bunch of jumbled up information, like I've already said before. But basically you can go in here, you can figure out what's going on, and then if you want to have these included files, what you can do is you can create a level, then you can save it, and then you can take that file, you can drag it out onto your desktop or wherever, and then you can go to the included files, you can add an included file, and then add that file, and then rename it to whatever you want, and then you're done. Then the file's ready. So yeah, it's pretty easy to use. Alright, so that's really all there is to work on for now. We have a completely working loading and saving system though for our level builder game. Pretty awesome, isn't it? Well, thank you for watching.